Hi, I'm Dr. Paul Jenkins, a professional psychologist and communication expert. I'm going to share with you the most important time to actually break the rules of communication. This video will give you some important insights into self-care. I'm going to share with you the 5 rules of communication and then when you need to break them. I'll go through the rules very quickly because I want to emphasize the times when you should break these rules. Let's go to rule number 1. Don't be a bear. Now, when I say a bear, what do you picture in your mind? Can you see that beast that's snarling with the teeth bared? Yeah, don't be one of those. We have a natural fight or flight response that's built into our system. Our brain is supposed to take care of us, to keep us safe. And so when we see a bear, we react with defensiveness and we get into our fight or flight mode. It's what your brain is supposed to do. When you show up as a bear in a communication, guess what you're triggering for that other person? And often you'll know that this is happening when you're met with defensiveness. Okay? So don't be a bear. Here's rule number 2. Don't see a bear. Even if that other person shows up with their teeth bared and they're snarling and growling a little bit, try to interpret in your mind, oh, that person is hurting instead of that person is going to eat me for lunch. Whether you see a bear or not is up to you, regardless of how they're showing up. So these two go hand in hand. Don't be a bear, don't see a bear. Communication requires us to be in a different state of mind, not the fight or flight mode. Think about that for a minute. In a communication, put up your dukes and fight or get the heck out of there. Which one's going to help your communication the most? Or you don't like your choices? So we need to do something else to have effective communication. Rule number 3 for effective communication is to eliminate the noise. This gets back to a model that I share in communication training, where there's a sender of the message and there's a receiver of the message. So the message originates here with the sender and it gets sent over there to the receiver. Well, in between the sender and the receiver is a whole bunch of noise. So the signal has to pass through that noise. Noise can be actual physical noise in your environment. Earlier, a helicopter went by. It created a bit of noise. That's physical noise that we can identify. But there's also noise in our head. Have you noticed? Sometimes your thoughts create noise, or your history, or the context that we're having the communication to start with. We want to reduce the noise as much as possible. I know I'm going through these rules fairly quickly, but I'll give you a copy of it too. This is the communication cheat sheet, and it's got all 5 of the rules with a quick little summary. Just go to the URL that's on the screen right now, drpauljenkins.com/communication. I'll put the communication cheat sheet right into your inbox so that you can track that. Let's cover those last 2 rules for you real quick here on the video though. Rule number 4 is to listen to understand. I think one of the most effective things we can do in communication is to do more listening than we do talking. You've got 2 ears and 1 mouth. There's probably a reason for that. The letters in the word listen are exactly the same as the letters in the word silent. And you're checking right now, aren't you? Yeah, they match up. And that's probably useful as well because we want to eliminate the noise, get down to where it's more quiet or silent, and then we're listening to understand. Now notice, the goal here is not to agree. This gets people stuck all of the time. The goal is to understand. Calm the noise, listen to understand. And then rule number 5, express, to be understood. Notice the goal is the same, understanding. We're not expressing to persuade or convince or rebut or debate. We are simply trying to be understood. So you got it? Those are the 5 rules of communication. Once again, I'll put that in your inbox. If you'll just go to drpauljenkins.com/communication, you'll get the communication cheat sheet right in your inbox. That's a free gift for you. Now, When should we break those rules? You should break the rules of communication, one in particular, when you talk to yourself. Now think about what I'm saying. I don't want you to be a bear or see a bear. Those rules are going to hold. We still want to eliminate as much of the noise as possible. But rule number 4, we are going to completely throw out the window. I don't want you listening to yourself. I want you talking to yourself. When it comes to self-talk, we should talk more than we listen. Here's what I mean. Do you ever hear that little voice in your head that says, "Oh, I don't think I'm good enough," or some version of that? Stop listening to that voice. It's not serving you well. It probably takes you down a path that is not very joyful. We're going to break the rules of communication, and we're going to rudely, if necessary, interrupt ourselves to talk to ourselves. You pick a message that serves you well. What is that message? I'm a strong, competent person. Okay, how does that sound? You can tell your brain that. The reason I want you to break that particular rule of communication, almost always when you're talking to yourself, talk more than you listen, is because your brain has a job. And your brain's job is to keep you safe and to prove you right. This gets in our way all the time. Now, keeping you safe, your brain is going to try to protect you from anything that looks difficult or hard or painful or risky. And so it tries to keep us in our comfort zone, and it will tell you things sometimes that aren't even true. Things like, "Oh, I don't think you can handle that." Don't listen to that. Interrupt your brain and give it the instructions that will help you to keep moving forward. Your brain also wants to prove you right. I mentioned that. And so once we take hold of a thought, like "I'm not good enough," for example, our brain will then start to very dutifully look for evidence to support that particular thought. And sometimes it'll just totally make it up because you got a really good imagination. That's why we have to interrupt our brain instead of just listening to anything that it hands to us. All right, did you get it? You know exactly when to interrupt. Remember, go get your communication cheat sheet, drpauljenkins.com/communication. I'll put it right in your inbox so that you have that for reference. I'll see you on the next video.